Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Valeria Lipovetsky, and you are listening to Not Alone podcast. Today, I have a special guest. I'm sitting down with my brother, Denis. He's my stepbrother, and we've been a family over 15 years now. I feel like those who watched my content, like the OGs from YouTube, remember him. I did some of my first videos with him where we sat down and talked about dating. He was single. He's still single. And the reason why I set him down on this chair is to try to understand what is going on. It is time for it to happen, but I also understand that the world has changed immensely. So I wanted to first just reintroduce him to my audience and talk about all the things. We really touched on a lot of stuff I don't think we've ever shared before, like the story of how we first met. It involves a strip club in Niagara Falls. Listen, don't ask me questions. Listen to the episode. You'll understand the context for it. Our dynamic with our family and between each other. And then we dived into the dating world, the dating scene, his problems, not even problems, but his challenges navigating it. And I have to say, after this conversation, and not only this conversation, every conversation we have about his dating life, I thank God that I'm married because it's so hard out there. So we dived into that. I hope you guys love this episode and love getting to know Denis better. But before we get into the conversation, don't forget to leave a comment and rating on Spotify. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for your support. Now let's dive in. You guys, I have my brother, Denis. I'm so happy you're here. A lot of people have no idea how I have another sibling. I've been showing you on my social media for years, but no one really knows the background or like how did this whole come about. So I feel like this episode is number one, an opportunity for us to hang out and talk because we don't really get to a lot. Whenever you come over and we start a conversation, you see what's going on. I have children screaming, things are falling apart. So we never really get to speak. And also we can dive into, some topics.
Got
So
it.
welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, Denis, so you've been my older brother for 15 years now.
Yes, just about 15 years. I'll say that to your point about the children screaming. I think one of the things that I can share immediately is that sometimes I write you a message. I write you a message. Hey, how's it going? And sometimes you just unread, ignore, nothing. And I used to be like, hey, what's going on? You're my sister. Like, I understand you have your like life and you're famous and all these things are going for you, but like, I'm your brother, like for a while now. But then I step into the house and then I'm there for like 10 minutes. I'm like, now I get it. It's okay. You can ignore my messages because when it really counts, you're there. But like, I totally get it. And I'm happy to spend time. So thank you for
You
having
see,
me.
so we orchestrated this to basically to repair all the unread messages and unresponded messages
I
you've
think
left
we need
me.
like 10 videos for that, but okay.
Okay, so let's start with the background of how we became a family because not a lot of people know, but we're not family by blood. We're family by.
Well, our parents are married. So my dad is married to your mom. Uh, Very unconventional way of meeting each other the first time, I think. About 15 years ago, and again, almost to the date. I think it was around Passover, so it was April about 15 years ago. I went to Niagara Falls for someone's birthday. Don't remember who it was. And 2 days later, I'm going to the parents' house. I'm going to the parents' house. The parents started living together. They just started moved in together, and being introduced to you. I showed up with my girlfriend at the time. You were with your boyfriend at the time, and we started the conversation. Almost immediately, like your boyfriend at the time was just like, "Do you guys know each other?" Like we clicked. We just started talking, and I asked, like, one of the topics of conversations was like, "Well, what'd you do this weekend?" And you said, "Well, we were in Niagara Falls." Interesting. Like I was in Niagara Falls, and then like, "Well, where did you stay?" Oh, we stayed in the same hotel as well. And then I asked, like, well, what did you do? What did you get up to? And then you started telling a story, or he started telling a story about, like, yeah, we went here, and I stopped him midway. I just met you. I stopped him midway and I said, you're a liar because you were at the strip club. You were pulled on stage. A stripper took off your shirt and you were wearing a purple bra.
That is incorrect, by the way. That's incorrect information. No one took off my shirt. There was something purple, but it was nothing was taken off, first of all.
Okay. I'm wrong. But your jaw and his jaw completely dropped. And you looked at me like I have five heads or like I'm spying on you. We told the story immediately to the parents, and they're just like, yeah. Like,
Very nice. This is a good start for this family, modern family that we have today. So yeah, this is the story of how we met for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's still one of my favorite stories to tell because what are the chances that we would be in the same city, in the same strip club? The fact that I was in a strip club.
Same. I mean, I honestly, I've been to a strip club 5 times in my life. Like, zero chance
And
that
one
I'll...
of those times you met your sister.
Exactly. And I'm just like, what's going on? And I even remember, like, I was with my buddy, and like, oh, look, they're doing something, and you went on stage. And what are the chances? Because I don't know if you go on a lot of stages like that.
No, not at all.
But it's great. And like, I do tell this story sometimes too, and I think it's...
I think that's a great story, and I think that was like a great start to our family. And for those who don't know, I actually moved to Canada to join my mom and my little brother Bob because my mom was dating your dad. I remember when I came, because I used to come visit them. So when they moved, I stayed back in Israel and I was working in Europe doing my thing, and I would come and visit them once in a while. And my mother had a couple of relationships before in Canada that whenever I would come visit, I said, I don't want to be in this environment. So when you're a bit more settled and when you have the right person beside you, I'll come and move, because I did want to be close to them. So I remember so vividly coming, one of the times that I came to visit her, and my mom said, I've met someone and I think that this is it. And we went for dinner, and you weren't there. It was just Bob and myself and my mom and your dad, Dima. And I remember at that dinner, we had a conversation, and, everything was so great. And there was just this knowing, like I looked at my mom and I just like nod. I'm like, okay, I'm moving. And that was such it was a big shift for our family. Dima brought us together, and we always talk about the fact that he's the anchor of our family. Yeah, and that's how we just, grew into this really loud, proud
Absolutely. I think that we all
family.
I think that we all, like, you look at your mom's story and how it came about. You look at Gary and his family, and you look at, like, I was an only child up until we met. Never had siblings. And how somehow all these, like, somewhat broken or like families that didn't work out, and like it's like a perfect storm. It just came together, and we fight and we're loud and with this, but somehow it works. I think it's I love it. I think it's and we can dive into it a little bit later, but overall, it's the thing I miss most. I think it's the thing that like, you moved, and then the parents moved, and I'm here for some time now in Miami, and like one of the things, because I miss having all of you around.
I know. Well, there is a Operation Move Denis to Miami going on, and I think we're doing pretty well.
I think so. I definitely think so. There's a lot of arguments for, and I missed it. I think that we played the Shabbat dinner on Friday. We played a card game, and I think we pulled in the card, and you asked the question, where do you feel most at home? And I didn't even think twice. I didn't had to think. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to. It's just like around my family, and I still have. Again, I have my mom in Toronto, which I love very much. But like, again, I just also miss this part.
Yeah.
We, no matter what, no matter how, no matter when, we always had Shabbat dinners at your place every Friday, and everybody comes, we eat, we light candles, and whether it's an hour later or 3 hours later, we just move on with our lives. But we always had that, and that was something I cherish and also miss very much. So
I love that you are the sentimental one in our family. I mean, you get it from your dad.
Absolutely.
For sure. But you definitely remind me often to remember the value of those gatherings. Because sometimes, it becomes kind of, okay, it's another Shabbat dinner. But they do matter. Like the time we spend does matter. And I think I realized it more since we moved to Miami and not being able to gather everyone together. But yeah, you definitely, even with your like little notes that you send me, you're just like in your feels.
I think, and to contrast that, I say, you're probably on the other side where, and I'll give
emotionless.
I wouldn't say emotionless.
So when I first met Denis, you were in a relationship.
Yeah.
You were a completely different person than you are today, I have to say, and that's an amazing.
15 years, but
yeah,
yes.
It's been 15 years, but you'll be surprised. No, actually, you won't be surprised because you know some people that felt comfortable and stayed. But I think that when I met you, you started being very curious about kind of your evolution because you came to me and asked me a question knowing that that's how I feel.
I know the answer.
Knowing that, things, it's going to be a big change coming. So when I met Denis, he was in a relationship and you've been together for a long time. She was a lovely girl.
Loveliest, yeah.
3-4 years, lovely girl. But I just remember when we started getting to know each other and I right away felt that like, you're my family and we take care of each other. And I saw that, he's not where he needs to be. He's very comfortable where he's at, but he's not where he needs to be. And when you came up to me and you're like, hey, so I'm thinking, if this is the right time, if this is the right relationship, where do I go from now? Because you were in how old were you? 20?
I was like 22, 21, somewhere there.
Yeah, where I feel like, you were already together for a while. The conversation of like, okay, what's the future? What's next? What's coming? Started coming up. And when you came to me, for me, it was so clear. It was like, she's a lovely girl, but she's not your lovely girl. Like, that's not your future.
Yeah. And I remember specifically just coming and just like you said, very sentimental and very like, yes, but this, yes, but that.
But love.
Yeah, exactly. And then you come and you say, nah, this is a no for me. It's going to be a no for me, dog. And I look at you and I'm like, and I said the exact same thing. And I went through the story again. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, you didn't hear me. I already told you what to do. Like, but if you want, just let me know what you want me to do. You want to vent? I'll just sit and nod and listen. But if you want advice, I already given it to you. So I don't really know what you're looking for here. So I wouldn't call you emotionless at all. But like, I think you are emotional. But I think you're extremely good at when I come to you with something, and we can dive into something else a little bit later. But like when I come to you with something that is important to me, you just come and just, here's your answer, or here's what I would do. Gary's the same way. Both of you are very rational, that you just put emotions aside, especially when it's a big decision, and you just come like, well, here's what I think and here's why. But again, maybe sentimental, maybe I don't know what, but I just come and it takes me a little bit longer to kind of make that decision.
The good thing is that you arrive to the conclusion at some point and then take action. So that's
good. I never hear the end of it from you or from Gary about like, yeah, I told you this like a year ago or 5 years ago.
We only say that because you ask, why didn't you tell me this earlier? Which is a signature Denis thing to do, by the way. Every time he makes a decision after 5 years of talking about something, he's like, why didn't you tell me earlier? And the answer is, we did tell you earlier. You were just not ready.
Sure. I think that's, again, don't make me seem like it's always the case, but like, there are like, there's
specific topics you come with, right?
Yes,
so I think that in your work, in your profession, you're a lawyer, you're an entrepreneur, like you don't come to me for that because you're very clear on what your steps are and how you want to manage that side of your business of your life. But when it comes to relationships or like things that are more personal, I appreciate the fact that you want to hear my opinion and my advice. Like that is, like, I love that. That's, a source of pride for me, because God knows I wouldn't come to you for relationship advice.
I appreciate that. That's great. It's a backhanded compliment. You're great. You're great.
But that's why this dynamic works very well.
It does work very well. It's true.
I have to say, when I started showcasing you on my social media, because you had to put up with, me deciding to get into the world of social media and started showing aspects of our family. You were honestly a trooper. I threw you under the bus, or not even under the bus, but I put you on the spot with like, hey, I want to do a video. And you were always kind of like, okay, let's do it. And with weeks of preparation ahead, you would show up and do the video with me. So one of the first videos we've ever done was on my YouTube, and that was about dating.
10 things you shouldn't do on a first date.
10 things you shouldn't do on the first date, which is what, 6 years ago?
7. And I think I put it on a piece of paper. I still have that piece of paper. I just, and I put it on a piece of paper. I thought about this. I came prepared. I think the comment is that, or a few days ago, you came to pick me up with the kids to eat ice cream. And you called me and said, I'm late. And I said, well, I'm already downstairs. You told me you'll come at 7. And you made the comment, which is so you, and you said, why are you always on time? Why are you so on time? And I'm like, what do you mean? So in the same way, I came prepared for that because you told me what it's going to be about. And I thought about this, and I think I can have a way better conversation if, I know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The second time you decided to do a video, you told me, I don't want you to be prepared. I don't want you to do anything. I want to come and I want to shoot. And I went with that. And it was a disaster. And I said, you know what? It's not for me. I'm good. So I think, I messaged you yesterday. I'm like, what are we going to talk about? Because I don't want that to repeat. And I have some notes, but I'm not even looking at them. But like I want to know because I want to contribute to a conversation.
Because that's who you are. Yes,
exactly.
You always want to contribute. I appreciate that. The first video we did was you were 30 years old.
Yes.
And I mean, since we became a family, the number one thing on the table has been, when is Denis going to get married? Your mother, God bless her soul, love her so much. She's been on your ass for a very, very long time. She's been waiting for grandchildren for a long time. And then obviously our parents together decided to participate. So it's always like this, do you know somebody for Denis? We need Denis to get married. It's been always the topic of conversation. So 7 years ago, age 30, we talked about 10 things not to do on a date.
Sure.
Have you been following the list?
Yeah, I think that's what, this is what I think is correct. I don't think anything there's earth-shattering or that's just really out there. I think it's something that I think is appropriate. Again, don't be late. Don't be on your phone.
Well, do you remember? Okay, so don't be on your phone. Don't be late.
Don't be deceitful. So, if you look like a certain way, put your actual photos on
right. Okay, so no
apps.
Catfishing.
Yes. Don't get drunk.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
That was a big one. Don't complain. Don't bash your exes. I think
Yes.
Bashing your exes is a terrible thing to do. I mean, what do you do when I leave the room type of thing?
Yeah.
The one we got heat for, or some heat for, and we can chat about this, is paying. Okay,
right.
That's something we'll come back to it in a second. I'm trying to remember the other 3. I think messaging after. So don't play games. Like don't wait like an hour or 5 hours
Like
or
be
a
clear.
day. Don't be clear, but also the other one was just don't come on the first date and ask like, hey, what are your intentions here? What do you want?
Don't
like,
make it an interview.
It's just exactly.
Right.
Those were 2 actually. Don't make an interview is 1, and the second one is don't ask right away like, hey, where's it going? What is it? So this is the time.
Those are all amazing. So how's it going? Are you married? Are you in a relationship?
I'm not married. I'm not in a relationship.
Okay, you guys, I cannot wait to talk to you about today's sponsor, Nix. Okay, so I have to give you a little of a background story. I started using pads from the get-go when I got my period at like 13, and then I started using tampons way later in my period journey because they scared the hell out of me. But I have to say that I reached a point probably in my 20s where I was looking for alternative to the traditional pads and tampons because I knew there must be something that's more comfortable and more honestly eco-friendly out there in the world for me to try. But then I found NYX, an intimate apparel company that is reinventing products for real life. If you've never used any reusable period products, I know that it can be really intimidating at first. I know I had a little learning curve with them, but I promise there are more comfortable and practical options out there for you that can be worn and washed, not tossed. I was also really inspired by their story and even had the opportunity and pleasure to speak to their founder, Joanna. She built the fastest growing intimate brand globally and was the pioneer of the leak-proof underwear marketplace. We owe her a lot. Their leak-proof products offer up to 10 teaspoons of absorbency, which is insane. And also the variety of underwear styles, activewear, and so much more is honestly insane. And these are perfect for everyday wear. So if you need to cover yourself for the light bladder, leaks, for sweat, discharge, and your lightest or your heaviest period days, NYX got you covered. So between the underwear looking like regular underwear, but so much better, to the fact that they're so easy to wash, all you have to do is pop them in the washing machine. And then also it has such an amazing range of style and sizes. So they go from extra small to 4XL. They have everything. My personal favorite style is the no-show bikini. I probably own it in 5 different colors, and they come in handy every month. Obviously. NYX is the #1 leak-proof brand in North America, and millions of people already made the switch. So if you've been thinking about giving it a try, I've got a special offer just for you. Right now, you can get 10% off your order. Just go to nyx.com and use promo code Valeria10 at checkout. That's KNIX.com, promo code Valeria10 for 10% off your first order. I know you're gonna get obsessed, so enjoy. But all great things, 100%, but it's been actually so interesting to see your time in like the dating world. You've been dating, trying to find, someone to settle down with. But by the way, only recently have you started looking for someone to settle down with.
Yeah,
At
whenever you're
age
done, I can
30,
comment, yeah.
you weren't ready. Even though we did all the videos and stuff, you were still playing around.
If we're gonna be honest, like and I hate when people say that. I'm always honest. So when speaking to you or to Gary, like they were like, yeah, you know what? Focus on building a business. Focus on your career. Focus on that side.
Yeah.
And you have time for this, right? And
Absolutely.
I think 2 years or 2 and some years after the video, I specifically remember I'm 33. The business took off, and I'm starting to see some results, and which I'm very happy about. I tell myself every year in a sentimental way, during like around my birthday, I write like the things about the year that's just passed, what I look forward to in this year, so on and so forth. And I said, you know what, this year I want to take my foot off the business a little bit and invest more into dating intentionally, because you can just date. It's a never-ending game. Like there's a great book by Barry Schwartz called The Paradox of Choice, and the Paradox of Choice talks always about, hey, if you have 2 things to choose from, you go to an ice cream shop and you choose between vanilla and chocolate, you choose vanilla, let's say, and then you just move on with your life. If you go to an ice cream shop and there's 31 flavors, wait, well, what if this? Well, what if that? And you have this buyer's remorse kind of thing. Well, you know what? This could have been and that could have been. I think that's one of the biggest things I can comment on, let's say, dating apps. It's so much easier to there's so much more access. Before, when you were dating, there was not...
It was what's in front of you, and exactly. That's it.
And then this is what it is. Let's take your hand, let's go and see what happens, right? Around, again, 33, I'm just, this is it. Like, I want to be more intentional with dating, and I really think that was the intention.
The intention was there.
Pandemic happened. My birthday is in October 2019. It was when I turned 33, and pandemic happened like 3-4 months later. And we had such a harsh... I'm sure every place in the world had its own... curfews, lockdowns, and we had very harsh rules with the pandemic in Canada, and we always had, it became a joke, like, well, just 2 more weeks. It's 2 more weeks, still 2 more weeks, and then at some point, it really affected people. And also, unlike, let's say, Miami or like a lot of warm places, a lot
You
of
could have
time, a
been
lot
at
of you
least
couldn't
be
go outside.
outside. Yeah.
You really saw how it affected people, and it definitely affected dating. So that was a little bit on pause.
How did it affect dating?
So you, at some point, definitely in the beginning, people just don't want to meet up. And first of all, second of all, you can't go anywhere. You
Right.
just can't. I mean, people got creative, went to a park. I mean, like I've done
Were you
that
doing
once.
park dates?
I think I would just, yeah, maybe I did one, two, I think, but overall it was very different landscape, very different situation, very unfamiliar. People kind of ask,
Like
well,
didn't
are
know
you,
how to behave,
yeah, are
I'm
you
guessing.
vaccinated? Are you
Yeah.
not? Do you know anybody who contracted, who has COVID? You meet someone, they're in a mask, they're not. Like it was so different. And you kind of, and I remember specifically, I came to Miami to see you to celebrate New Year's 2022. Everything was open here. I think Florida closed for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think you moved there. You moved during pandemic because you know this. You got tired of like all these lockdowns. And we had an amazing New Year's. We had so much fun. And I come back. This is January of 2022. We have a new lockdown. We have a new lockdown for another 28 days. And at some point, it's so defeating, right? So I really feel that
Do you feel like you lost those years of just like being able to intentionally date and develop?
Absolutely. I think it's, hindsight is 2020. It's easy to look back and say, well, I could have come to Miami for this long and I could have done this, I could have done that. But in reality, like you just think, okay, well, another month or another this, and you keep being told that, okay, we're almost there.
Yeah.
So I think March or so of 2022, the storm is behind us and we're back to dating. And quite frankly, again, after our video and like for 2+ years after, I was just like, okay, I'm working on my business, not looking to settle down immediately, so on and so forth. But then let's call it, I lost a couple of years, and it was like, well, I need to make up for it, and I need to find someone, and it's a process. It's not like, okay, you meet someone, you need to make sure that you work well together. There's all these things that you need to be considerate
Yes,
of.
but you know what they say? The man, like a man is not looking for a specific girl. Like a man needs to be at the right place at the right time. And not even, sorry, a man needs to be ready. And then the girl that is at the right place at the right time, that's going to be the girl. That's going to be the one. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think that definitely after around the time of the previous video and a little bit later, you can't convince me to. It just very.
I can convince you what?
To settle down. I'm just not there. I'm
Yeah.
just not there because it's not. I'm working very long hours. I'm focused on so many different things that are not. Hey, I really need to find someone.
You know what was interesting to me? That you were in a few relationships during those times, and those girls really thought that they will be able to change that about you.
I think, yes, you're absolutely right. And I think that I speak to my friends who are girls or like who are single about this, and they know. Like we speak about this a lot. They say, well, a guy, he will either find a way, or he'll find an excuse.
Yeah.
And another way to put this is just, if you're not sure if that's, and I think it's something you told me, if you're not sure how you feel or where you stand, well, it's because he didn't give you that confidence that, no, you're the one, you're for me, that's it. And so March 2022, we're back to dating, and you know what, I didn't date for some time, so I'm like, okay, and I go back to it, and okay, you know what, go on a date or two, and it's not the same. I'm not as interested, let's say, in how I was dating before. I'm like, no, I want to be way more intentional. And at that point, I had a very long and good conversation with Gary about this and about how to approach this and what to do and so on and so forth. And Gary is a master of telling you what you really don't want to hear, but really like, oh, well, okay, well, just if you don't want to do it, it just won't happen for you. And it's all good. But he makes it really like dark. It's just like, well, if you don't want a family and if you want to die alone, then it's okay. But like, if you do, you came to me when you told me that you want to, you're family oriented and you want to have children. If you want this,
Right.
and for that you need to do X, Y, and Z. And if you're not willing to do that, that's cool. You do you. But you can come and live with us and live in our attic, or you can be fun Uncle Dennis. But like, I don't know if this act is really
Peter
cool.
Pan forever. Yeah.
He's like, I don't know if this act is really cool when you're in your 60s, but sure, you can try. And actually it worked. I mean, like, it's a couple 2 months after that conversation, I did enter into a relationship, which was pretty serious. And so this is basically a synopsis, or how, since our last video, let's say, what has happened. So it's not for the lack of trying that.
No, I feel like you've tried, but I feel like, at every kind of phase you had of dating, it was a different reiteration of yourself, right? You were either focused on business and then wanted to have fun, and then you were either kind of, decided to focus on a relationship, but then you weren't clear on what it is that you wanted. The paradox of choice is definitely there. I feel like it's happening to a lot of people. I think the grass is always greener is a constant thing, especially in today's time and age where you have access to see all the faces around you at all times. So to me, dating today is so difficult. It feels
Absolutely.
so exhausting because you not only have to think about what you want, it's also you have to play into the role of what all these other people want in order to make yourself like more desirable than the other 1,000 choices.
Yes, I think and again, the internet is a beautiful tool, but also it's very difficult to focus with it because you have, and this is part of the reason why, again, I'm not too much on social media. I don't really post
Which is
much.
a flex, by the way.
I'm not trying to. I'm just like.
No, I know, but when you're on dates, you need to say I'm not on social media. Like,
well,
I'm not an active
I'm
member.
there, but my last post was maybe a few years ago.
I feel like both parties struggle with that because there is, with all these apps, you have to kind of make a choice. And obviously, the easiest way to evaluate someone is by physicality, because that's the first thing that you see and the main thing you see. And there's a lot of like disappointment around it for men and women, because a lot of people obviously showcase a lot of face tuning in their apps. Even sometimes you show me
you're good at it. I have no
accounts,
idea.
And I'm just like, she's a pretty girl, but that's not her face. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah,
right?
I think we had this conversation the other day, just like I showed you, and you're like, we'll see how she looks like, because I don't think she looks like this. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. It's definitely something that's, been a thing for some time. I've definitely came to a few dates in my life where just like, okay,
Did
fine.
you ever say anything to one of them?
No, I would never say anything. I would never leave. I don't, and again, maybe there's some wrong in it. I don't know, but like, I would never want to make someone uncomfortable. I think as is, if someone is using or someone is doing it, there's some kind of, let's say, maybe an insecurity. Maybe I don't want to play into that, and I don't want them to feel uncomfortable.
I know, but the fact that you don't want to have uncomfortable conversation just continue propelling this ridiculous like trend. Don't you think?
Okay, let's play it out then. What am I supposed to say? Hey, you don't look like your pictures. What's up?
No, not like that. Being like, hey, we had a conversation and like I loved the things in your bio. You look like a really cool, interesting person. It's really, I feel a bit deceived because you don't look like your pictures, and not in a bad way. Like, you're beautiful. I wish I knew that this is how you look like, because I feel like then I can really understand more of your personality. Right now, there's a disconnection, don't you think? Because you read someone's bio, you see their face, you like their personality on the written form, and then you see their face. It's already like a bad start.
I think you can have both. So you can have like attacking or saying something to someone about their photos, say you don't look like your photos, you don't look like this, and in the same breath saying, well, you're beautiful, I just wish like essentially.
Why not?
Because
one doesn't cancel the other. To say you don't look like,
I think the idea
both truth can be.
I think the whole point of catfishing is that you don't look like you're presenting that you look like. you present to be looking better than you actually look. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that for girls, I mean, they do it, and for the guys that do it, they do it because, like, what's the end game? You are going to meet up with those people. Do you know what I mean? Where does that come from? Like, that's what I'm trying to
Well, do
understand.
you remember 10 minutes ago you said that I was dating girls that they thought that they could change, let's say, my
Right, so you
idea of
think
dating.
it's
So I
come from
think
the same
in the
place.
same way, like, well, I just need that date, and I'll have
Just
that
to get my
date.
foot in the
I
door.
get the foot in the door, and then we'll figure it out. I'll make him like me. I'll make him love me. But the first impression, that's just like, well, it's just you don't look like you said you look,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. I mean, like, yeah.
I wonder how many wonderful connections were missed because of that initial disconnect. You know what I mean?
I wonder the opposite also. It is that if maybe girls and guys put their actual pictures and everything. First of all, we wouldn't have a distorted image of reality of like what people look like, because you look at the apps or you're like, wow, everybody's gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
So maybe if people were actually showing themselves, people would be more comfortable of actually appearing how they are. As the first thing. The second thing is, well, I wonder how many dates would not happen, let's say, if people would not using all these apps to look better or to change their height or their age or whatever it
You
is.
know what's interesting? That we've gotten so far in that image of the ideal that we've been creating and working hard to maintain on social media, that I've noticed that even in reality shows, if you look at The Bachelor
Hmm.
10 years ago, the girls look like beautiful, natural girls. Like there is a variety. This last couple of years, all the girls, like the standard of beauty is so insanely high. Like there, I remember I just saw one, I think a trailer of the show or something, and I was like, where did they got these girls from? Like no one looks like that.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's like across the board, every aspect, if it's reality shows, if it's movies, if it's social media, everyone, like they don't create a space for people to like show up
Absolutely.
as they are.
I had this conversation with, again, I have a few friends. Like I said, there are girls that we talk about these things because they're single and talking about the apps and so on and so forth. And they, the reaction from some of them, even though they're beautiful girls, is just like, well, I can't compete with that. I can't compete with this. I can't. And it's a shame, but like it's reality. There's actual real pressure. If everybody's doing it and you're not, you're just like you're behind, or
Yeah,
you're
you
not with the
can
times,
play in
and
the, yeah.
it's not level. It's not a leveled playing field, right? You want it to be so.
How do you feel it is for the guys? Like, I know that we've talked a couple of times about this whole catfishing thing, but even you were telling me the story recently, right, of your friend who his date from whatever showed up from an app, and also there was the same case. Do you feel like the guys now have a completely distorted like expectations of how girls should look like?
I think
Or if tomorrow all the girls are like, that's it, no one, we're not using Facetune anymore, like what's gonna happen?
I think again, you hit the nail on the head. You just basically like, well, if everybody's doing it, it's becoming the norm, and if it's becoming the norm, then you see people in real life. You're like, well, so you kind of almost expect to be disappointed. Maybe I mean that's a good way to put it. I think, not to say again, like been on many dates where someone showed up and they're absolutely great and look like the pictures and everything's phenomenal. But that is a thing, catfishing, or like actually showing up as someone who you're not. That's not you. So
That's what I mean when I was reading an article about it. That's what happened with porn, right? Where young boys and girls, when they are exposed to porn at a young age and then they actually get to experience sex in real life, there's such a distortion of like expectation, like of reality, that they don't understand what is going on. So that start building their foundation and frustration with with intimate relationship.
Absolutely. I was listening to a talk about this, and I think that the speaker was a woman, and she said, well, maybe women, like, I don't know, don't moan when someone ejaculates on their face, and they don't really enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like there's a very big disconnect. Um,
Maybe.
maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Anyways, but I think there's a few things, and just like TikTok or Instagram or any of those, like, you go on it and you want to see a few things, and then you just end up like being on it for a few hours or so on and so forth. I think dating apps are very similar in that sense. So just like, well, let me just check. Even if you met someone great, well, let me just check what else is there. Let me just check what else is available. I think one of the comments or one of the things Gary told me is just like, you need to get rid of all of this. And you don't notice, but it creeps up. You just like, it just becomes a habit. So every single day, you're like, whenever you use the apps, you just like, you would go, you just swipe left, right, you do whatever. And then one day, 2 days, and then it just becomes, well, what are we doing? Like, this will not lead usually to a good relationship if that's what you're trying to look for.
Right.
It will not lead to a good relationship. And at any given moment, like, let's say you have a match, or let's say you have 100 matches. Like, who do you talk to? Well, I forgot. Well, it's very, very, very
Well,
difficult.
it becomes like a commodity, right? Rather than.
Yes, exactly. And I think the other thing that happens is, again, maybe definitely post-pandemic, I think that we spoke about this outside of here with about the art of conversation and talking about, just actually putting your phone away. You're very good at this. You're very at dinners with the family,
I
like,
want to tell you that I get shamed for it by our family. Like Gary's thing is always like, you'd never answer your phone. Or my mom is like, I called you 5 times and you don't answer your phone. Like, that's a good thing. I'm the
yeah.
normal one.
So what happens is, and I really feel that, I could sit with a friend and we were just sitting like this and we're having a conversation, and we can pull up the phone and just like, um one time, okay, twice, and then just like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, just checking, like. And I think recently I saw Chris Williamson talking about it, and like, I think it's called shadow complaining or something like that. When you say, oh, I guess you have something very important to do, you kind of like complain for hoping the other person understands.
Right.
But the better thing is to just be blunt and say, look, we can, if we have nothing to talk about, if you want to leave, if you have more important things, it's cool. It's
Yeah,
just that,
just let
like,
me
I
know.
came to connect with you. I came to speak to you. So if we're not doing this, it's okay. I'm just gonna go. And I think it's very important to do. I think this is having a conversation. You and I, like, especially like when you and I, when it does happen, when you and I have a heart to heart or a good conversation, I'm never looking at my phone, and neither are you. Just like, I think it's basic respect, but I think it's lost. I think there's a lot of, all of a sudden, like, well, how do you have a conversation for longer than 5, 10, 30 minutes without just looking into, without, it's
Yeah.
that stimulus. And I think that the art of conversation, well, for the most part, just might be lost.
If you had to make some ground rules for dating now, like if you could reset the whole dating world, even for yourself right now, because you're dating, you're out there, like what are some things you would want to change immediately that you think will better the whole environment, like for everyone?
The most important thing is, what are you trying to achieve? What is your intention? I recommended you a book you read recently called Essentialism. It talks about, there's so much noise in our world today. There's so much of it that, unless you're intentional with what you do, you're going to get lost. There's no other way. You will get lost. So I think girls are better at it. Let's say on apps, like, they would, what are you looking for? And I think they started doing it much more, like life partner and like, long-term relationships, so on and so forth. I think being intentional and understanding, well, what is it that you want? It's a complicated, like, landscape as is. Dating is very complex, way more complex than it was even 7 years ago, but definitely than what it was before or around the time you met Gary. That's number one. Just being like, okay, well, if you want to find someone to settle down with, if you want to find someone just just be clear about it and just actually go do it. I think that I have maybe some friends or some like that. They say they want it. They say that they want to do that, but but still,
Actions don't
but yeah. So when I
align.
had this conversation with Gary again, like this was already almost 2 years ago, he said, "Well, if this is what you want, you need to just erase all of this." And I think he got a pushback from me because I said, "Gary, I might not date or have sex for like a long time if I just don't." And he's like, "Good." And he said, "Look, the problem that you're describing to me is, let's say, this big of a problem, and I want to give respect to it. This big of a problem, right? So you not going out, or you not meeting all these people because they're not for you. It's okay. So you're not as social. You're not out there as much because this is not what these are not the people that you want. But on the other side of the coin is that, and he like it's from here till infinity, because then you don't settle down. Then you don't come into a place where you actually find someone, and you have your kids, and you have whatever it is. So
short term versus long term.
Yes, again, Chris Williamson talks about it.
You're obsessed with him.
I like a few of them, Tim Ferriss, Chris Williamson, but he talks about you need to choose your regrets. You won't be able to do everything, right?
100%.
In Essentialism, talks about it too. It's like you won't be able to do everything. So you need to be okay with, okay, you know what? Let's say this year you want to find someone, and finding someone means that you'll need to go out more. Maybe it's miss the gym a little bit. Maybe do certain things. Maybe your work will suffer a little bit. But you're okay with that, because on the other side of it, if you don't do it, you just won't find someone, or you just won't start a relationship. But because these things take time, and there's a lot of depth to it, so you need to choose your regrets. If you remember, one of the things, and it made so much sense to you, you told me as well, like, well, here's the mechanics. I invited you on a date. For me to, again, that's traditional. That's how
So whoever invites on the date pays, or the man pays?
I think for the most part, whenever I went out, like I was the one to ask a girl on a date.
But what if a girl asked you?
Okay, I mean, it's again, like I'm sure it happens. Like again, like usually the guy, let's say, proposes marriage to a girl. I'm sure girls propose marriage to a guy as well. But
Answer the question.
It just never happened. It's a little bit difficult for me to.
Okay, tomorrow you're meeting someone on the street. She's like, "Oh, blah blah blah, great conversation. Would love to go on a date." She invited you.
And I say, okay, cool. Like
you go on a date, and then the check comes. Who pays? The answer is you, Denis.
I know it's me. I just don't want to get, again, I can see it.
This is not politically correct. I'm asking for your opinion.
I would always pay, yes.
Okay,
and
great.
I want to make it clear, because I think that for me, the act of doing that is just, I understand, and the way I see it is just being a gentleman. Obviously, your stepdad, my dad is super, like, he's super old fashioned, super romantic, super nice and sweet, and that's the way he raised me. He just basically, if I'm going on a first date and I invited you, it doesn't matter who invited whom, like, for me, it's the same way as, like, I'll open the door for you, I'll open the car door for you, I'll order you an Uber, or I'll drive you if I have like, here I don't have a car, but like I would pick you up, or I'd at least ask to pick you up. I think these mannerisms are things that are okay. They should not be attacked. And while you look 7 years ago, this was, let's say, attacked to a degree. I
mean, it's still attacked. Are you kidding
absolutely.
me?
I think if we do it today, it would be attacked so much more. Because what happens on the other side? Well, what do you mean? You think a woman cannot pay for herself? What do you mean? You think girls are not independent? Hey, some of the comments we're in 2017, or like today we're in 2024. Women, we're equal with this. It's not about that. It's just about, like, well, why can't I woo you? Why can't I invite you? Why can't I be assertive and actually invite you and say? And when you're attacking that, you're confusing men. Well, what is it that you want? Because I will tell you.
Yes.
And I will tell you, like, very honestly, and I didn't want to say this because I don't want to make it too let's say, call it controversial, but every single friend that I have that is a girl that's on the
We don't
apps.
call it controversial here. We call it spicy.
Okay. So the spiciest thing I'll tell you is that every single friend that I have that is a girl that's on the apps and all that, when we have this conversation, they welcome it. They say, this is great. And I wish someone would act like this rather than they come and say, well, what do you think you're better than a woman? No, it's not about that.
Okay, but I want to say to that, 100% I agree. I think that there is now more than ever women yearning for that assertiveness and chivalry from men.
Yeah.
But in a way, and I speak about it a lot with probably not enough. I'm probably going to do a whole conversation about it on a podcast,
Sure.
but I do think that we did it in a way to ourselves,
Absolutely.
which I think it always happens whenever trying to make a change in society, because we did progress so much as women in the last, 3 decades, so much has changed, probably more. I don't know the timeline. So a lot has changed and we pushed really hard to get to where we are, but now it's kind of the horseshoe theory, right?
Absolutely.
We're at this one extreme and now men are confused. They don't want to upset women. They don't really know how to go about things. And then it now kind of has to come in the middle.
Marilyn Monroe is your favorite quote. It is the quote that you said to me so many times, and you say, I'm okay being in a man's world as long as I can be a woman in it. And it's a beautiful quote. And it just comes and speaks about we're different. We act different. We want different things, and it's okay. And what we're creating with this, coming with pitchforks and shaming. Oh, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Well, what is it that you want? It's becoming the landscape is confusing as is. You have this app, that app, this, that, the other. You have so many things going on, and then on top of that, you're coming and you're saying, well, what is it that you want? Well, I can't pay because then you think that I'm this. Should I not open the door for you now because you're strong enough. You can open your own doors. But why? But why is that all of a sudden attacked? Why is being old fashioned and this was classic and okay for such a long time? Why are we just coming and saying this is not okay?
I think we're bringing it back now. We're bringing it back, and you can participate by talking about it with your friends that are in the dating world right now, so they can take ownership. They can take the steps that needs to be taken. I was even talking to Celine, and her friend was really excited about this one date, and the guy was just, hey, so what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want to eat? And she canceled the date because she's like, how do you even start with that? You know what I mean? This is not...
Because it's an indicator for later on. I mean, later on, let's say we get to that place, we have real life decisions.
Yeah.
If you can't make a decision if we're going to Italian or French, how are you going to make a decision if we want...
100%. But maybe for him, he's like, I want to be considerate. I want to show that I care. Maybe she wants to go to somewhere specific. I understand both sides, but at the end of the day, I think that women appreciate when men is taking leadership.
So I'll tell you what I do. I always ask, I was on a date a few days ago, and I asked, hey, is there anything you don't eat, or do you have any preferences at all?
Yeah.
I'm not from Miami. I don't know really don't really know where to go here. And then as soon as I get something, whatever the answer is, I gear towards it. That situation said no, I don't. I'm cool with anything. I make the decision. This is where it is. Cool. Perfect. Be ready at this and this time. Car will pick you up or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right. But going back and forth about we're trying to lift something off the ground and we can't even decide on what we're eating. It's a little bit. It's weak. I don't think it's. I think
that's where we're at now. There's a lot of weakness displayed, and the intentions are usually good, but I think we need to stop with that. I think we just need to and by we, not me, I'm married, I'm good. You guys, all of you need to step it up.
I think that think about even this way, that's the fact that I hesitated to answer I'm paying or whatever it is. It's just because you're conditioned already that this is going to be a problem, and I don't want.
You're also from Canada, where I feel like
everybody's nice.
Not only everyone nice. I feel like you're scared to tell your truth because someone's gonna get offended.
Yeah. I like it here way more because the way people drive, you really understand if you're not gonna fight for yourself, you're gone. It's not Canada here,
Yeah, I do enjoy the idea of people vocalizing more of what they want to see or what they think, obviously without harming anybody at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's okay to, if someone gets insulted or by something like that, that is our opinion and what we want to see for the future.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay.
It is
Sometimes
what it
people
is.
need to get insulted.
You know what? You can't be everybody's cup of tea, and if you are everybody's cup of tea, maybe
Then
it's
you're
something
nobody's
wrong with
cup
you.
of
Yeah,
tea.
you just maybe just trying to please everybody, or like, which is again something I learned from you. Like I'm pretty big people pleaser, and like I learned a lot from you over the years.
I learned from you, which I really very much admire. Hope the boys see it, and hopefully as they get older you'll tell them stories. But I really love how you are exploring yourself outside of your work. So to me, that's why you're so balanced and well versed in life, because you haven't really became a slave to what you wanted to achieve, which is, to be successful financially, have your own business, be a lawyer. None of that came easy for you. And we didn't come from a house that was, what do you want to do? Let me help you out. So everything was very, very much earned. But what I love is that you didn't lose yourself in the whole like money making, business building, law world. And you always explore yourselves in all these different mediums. Like, you're so spiritual, you travel a lot, you read a lot, which is, I feel like, a big thing where we connect on. And that's really cool. I hope that that always will be part of who you are, because I think that as we get older, it's like being an adult and then having a family and then having a partner. It's like, in a way, feels like the world is closing in on you and you can only focus on this one thing, because it is an issue of like capacity, mental, physical, emotional. But I really hope you keep that idea of that wanderlust and wanting to explore and evolve more. It's really nice.
I love that. Thank you. I don't think you ever said that to me. That's
I
very
know.
kind.
This is me being an emotional and
Yes, enough. That's it. Too much.
sentimental. Would you say you're happy? Are you happy, Dennis?
Yeah. I think very much so. I think there were two situations where I thought about this question, and I came to a conclusion. One of them is that, close your earmuffs. It's a little bit emotional, but
I'll puke later.
I've lived a very good life, and I make sure that everybody I love, I tell them I love them. If sometimes I tell Gary I love him, and it's just like, he treats it how
that's not Gary's
he's
love
like,
language.
okay, dude, like, why are you being like that? And so far, like, let's say I die tomorrow, don't want to die tomorrow, I'm happy with how my life, like, again, came to be, and what I am, and like, I'm very proud of a lot of things that I've done. I think the other thing is that I remember I'm stealing it from some podcast, and like, let's say I die tomorrow, and let's say you go somewhere, heaven, wherever, and someone says, well, you have a chance to go back and redo it, and you can be anyone. And I think I think, not from an arrogant place, just because I genuinely love my life, I would choose to be me again. And I think that's a good, like, indicator of like, oh, I think you're satisfied with who you are and satisfied with your life. So
yeah, I love that. I have a feeling you're gonna find the wife this year. Do you feel like you're ready for that point?
yeah, again,
I don't know. For me, you're always like the image of you is that like single guy doing his thing. So I can't really see you in that environment. I know it's a weird thing to say.
But think about it, like, I thought with the last relationship, I thought this is it. I think we're done. Like, I wasn't really thinking about like, oh, well, there's going to be like, I'm done. I'm good. And I think it really blended well. I was a relationship guy, and I was happy being in a relationship until a certain point, and then it was just like, so I really think that it's something that I'll devote definitely more time to, and it's something that I definitely interested in. I think this is, I don't know, this is the year. My mom keeps thinking this is the day. This is
your mom thinks this is the year every year.
I wish I have one conversation. I wish I have one conversation with my mom where this is not a topic. Like, hey, Well, what about?
Listen, I can't falter. I get it. Now that my kids are getting older,
Your kids are 6, 9, and 11. Come on.
that's true.
You're starting to ask them, like, hey,
Well, the time
time's
is
ticking,
ticking.
yeah.
Yeah, no, but I wish that for you. I think you're gonna learn a lot about, different sides of yourself once you have a family and you're in the right partnership.
Yeah.
But it's gonna happen. I feel it.
I remember speaking to you about it in September. You came, we had dinner, and I told you, listen, I want to get a hair transplant. And then you said, yeah, you should do it. And just like 15 years ago, I look at you and like, what do you mean I should just do it? And as you said, listen, you told me this so many times already. I think you should do it and just move on with your life. And yeah, it's been 4 months and I did it, and it's great. I think I had a huge insecurity. I love my dad to death. My dad is the best person. I was 8 years old, and he tells me this horror story. He tells me this horror story where he was dating someone and she didn't want to marry him because he's bald.
Oh my God.
I'm a kid, and I tell like, well, okay, so bald is bad. This is it. The bald is bad. I had no chance at all. My dad, my grandparents, my great grandparents, everybody's bald. Every single person. When I was 16, I had receding hairline. When I turned, I think 2021, do you remember? We met around that time. I had long hair, which I'm getting to. I tried everything. I took pills, I did acupuncture. I went to 3 different dermatologists. Everybody said, well, nothing was working. And the dermatologist said, this is what it is. So I did the most logical thing you can do when you're going bald. I grew long hair, which is very stupid, because what happens when you grow long hair? I know, you told me. What happens then is that you have very little hair here,
Yeah.
and you have a long hair over there. So it looks silly.
I want to mention that one of my terms of us becoming siblings is honestly you cutting that fucking ponytail.
And I did at some point. I remember, and I remember coming to, this is by chance completely. I came to my hairdresser. Someone new. I didn't like. We had never went there before, and I said, "Cut my hair." It was very difficult. I was just about to go to law school. I said, "You know what? Cut my hair." And there's just like, and he said, "What, are you stupid?" He gives me a haircut and gives me this powder thingy, and just put some powder on this, and just puts like spray, and hey, I look like I have like hair, and it's great. The problem with this powder thingy is that in a year, because I keep losing hair, in a year it doesn't look like you have hair with a little bit of powder. You look like you have powder with a little bit of hair.
Right.
So all of a sudden, like it just looks silly. So I come to him, and again I come and I say, just shave my head. There's nothing I can do. And he introduces me to this world of like fake hair. I know nothing about this. He comes and he says, "Listen, you glue it on, this," and I had it for 12 years.
That's insane.
Insane.
Is
And
it a toupee?
so it's basically hair, and then it's cut like for here.
Right.
And you put glue, and it's stuck, and it's stuck for 3 weeks. And after 3 weeks, you have to go get it like taken off, shave whatever hair you have here. It's a whole process. And you have to be like, and you don't think about it because it looks real, but then there's a few things you have to be careful of. First, water. Right? First, water, being in water, it's not great for it. Second, whenever you have a girlfriend, whenever you have someone with you there, like if you go here, it's just not great. So I would just tell girlfriends, which is insane. Like, hey, I just don't like my hair being touched. I have an ex-girlfriend that called me. She saw it, that I did a hair transplant. She called me. She's like, "You didn't have real hair," and I said, "No," and she said, "I will never trust men again." She's like, "What the f, Dennis?" Like, it's just like we were together for so long. And the other thing is that you grow. There's dependency. So every 3 weeks you have to go, and like I'm here for a month now or more, and I'm happy because I don't have to go back and take care of, like, it's always at the back of your mind. I think that I was terrified. I was terrified when I decided when I made that decision. I became bald. I came the third time that I said, shave my head, but this time, please, shave my head. No, don't give me any new gimmicks. And I was bald, and I showed 1 friend, 2 friends, 5 friends, and you know what? Like, and it's great. And nobody cares. It's just nobody really cares. I went to Bali because I was too self-conscious of being in Toronto for 3 weeks bald before I go and do a hair transplant in Turkey, and then I was jumping into a pool back and forth,
like a child.
like 20 times. I had a buddy with me, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I will never be able to explain to anyone the feeling of like, hey, I was not able to jump into a pool for 12 years. I was not able to take a normal shower for 12 years. There's so many things.
But you know that you like, it truly is your own trauma, because the whole hair transplant, I mean, it's very open topic.
I agree with you.
For people. It's not anything.
And I did what I usually do. And I said, like you said at the beginning of the conversation, why didn't you tell me before? And what you said is, my husband is bald, you dummy. What more evidence do you need? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So again, BHM, so break up hair. So took care of that, which I couldn't be happier. I mean, it's been still growing, and it's been 4 months, and like so on and so forth. But just, it's not even the hair, it's just not having this fake hair. In Miami, like, I mean, I miss all of you so much, and I think that I really enjoy being here, and I think that's something that's it's a project I'm working on. Like, I have the law firm in Toronto, and I'm thinking, well, how can I create another one or do something here as well? So we're working on that. So if you're looking back to your question, if you're looking at, let's say, your life as a book, and this is the BHM or the transformational chapter of like doing such
break up hair Miami.
Yes, there you go. So doing such uncomfortable things.
Yeah.
Just doing them. And you and Gary are like so ridiculously supportive, and I can give you all the grief in the world about, hey, I can message you and like not hear from you and so on and so forth. Whether it was with any of these things, whenever I needed you, whenever I needed Gary, you spent hours just talking to me, making sure I'm okay, and making sure that like emotionless. No, you're not. It's true. I genuinely feel the love. I genuinely feel the connection. It's something that, you know what, whatever it is, and I'm so proud of you for having this world. But like, to me, you're my sister, and I know I can come to you and I can be just vulnerable and say, look, I mean, here's my situation. Here's what I think, and you come and you just say, well, Dennis, like, well, this is what it is, and you're not apologetic about if something comes off might be offensive or might be, because I genuinely feel that you have my best interest in mind.
So, always. You mentioned earlier in the beginning of a conversation how I am exactly like my mother. Please expand.
Well, I think before the cameras were rolling and everything, you just said, I'm surprised you agreed to this. I'm surprised at this. And then just like, well, when I asked you, I'm like, you didn't ask me anything. And then you said, well, of course I asked you. Like, no, you want to look at the message. You said, this place, this time, we're shooting this. Thank you. And it's just like your mom. I mean, like, where Bob is coming, so our brother is coming to Miami, and she just called me and said, well, you need to go pick him up. And like, okay. And then this is what you're going to do. And I told you, there's only 2 people in this world that like I'm okay to take this from, and it's you and your mom. And you have the exact same mannerism with this. Like, this is what it is. That's it. We're done. Like, this end of story. There's no...
The assertiveness is there.
Yeah, I mean...
Thank God I'm not in the dating world. I would have broken.
I think one time your mom called me and she said, Benny needs to be picked up from kindergarten. And this is in Toronto, and this is like middle of the day. And I said, oh, okay. And she's like, well, can you pick him up? And I said, well, where's everybody else? And she's like, well, you're there, you're working this. And it registered to me. She's like, do you understand what I do? Like,
no, she doesn't care.
I know. And it's great. I love
part of her charm.
It is part of your charm. It's part of her charm. It's great.
This was great. I feel like we covered everything.
Sure.
Anything you want to leave? Anything you haven't put on the table?
No, I think it was a great conversation. I think it's always great to spend time, and I'm looking forward to spending even more time with you and the kids and Gary in Miami. And I think I miss this a lot. I think that it's you've become your entire family has become an integral part of my life in the past 15 years, and our relationship evolved so much and since we met, since you dancing on stages, um, and
I love
and
that this is
it's
our story.
this is a great story. I mean, like, try to top that. It's great. Um, and you know what? It's great. And I thank you. I mean, like, honestly, you're as great as everybody thinks and more. And the best thing I can say is that, you know what, to the world, or to everyone, you're Valeria and you do all these videos about this and that and the other. And it's great to me. You're my sister. And you're a great sister. So
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
Okay, thanks for coming. I won't ask you any more questions. You did very well. You came very prepared, very Dennis style. Okay, be a gem.
BHM.
B and H are done, so M is the next one.
We're just doing M.
Woohoo! Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't miss my newest episode right here. And if you're listening to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, please go and leave a review with your biggest takeaway. I love reading your thoughts. And if you have any suggestions for guests or topics, you can leave them in the comment section. And always, always remember, you are not alone.